Welcome watch fans to WatchGecko YouTube channel. My name's Sophie and today I'm here with Charlie from Alkin Watches to discuss the much anticipated event, British Watchmakers Day. Welcome Charlie.
Thank you for having me, it's really nice to be here.
So you've bought some gorgeous watches. I was just wondering what makes the Alkin brand different?
When I started the brand, I'm trained as a designer and I wanted the watches to be guided by some core principles and the brand to be guided by some core principles. And they're quite simple. It's functionality, quality and longevity. Functionality is key. Does the product work properly? Does it fit on your wrist? Is it comfortable? Can you read the dial well? Does it function in low light levels? It's all of those basic things that make something work really well. And I think there's so many things that we often take for granted that are quiet objects that just function really well, and they're often the best objects. So functionality for me was key. Quality, again, is an easy one to say, but to get the best possible product for the best possible price was something that I really wanted to achieve. And from a quality perspective also, a small brand like myself, if you get a couple of bad reviews because the product isn't up to scratch, then it will really tarnish your reputation. So I want to be really confident that whatever goes out the door is the best possible product that I can produce for the price point. Longevity, and again, if you've got a really good quality product, if it's an automatic watch, it's looked after and it's serviced well, it could easily last a lifetime, and that was something I really wanted to achieve. But I think the other thing from a longevity perspective is, will the design, will the aesthetic stand the test of time? And it's always a hard one to know, isn't it? I think of other watches that I love that maybe 30, 40, 50 years old, and those designs have stood the test of time. And I think some people refer to the Alkin watches as clean in their design, so they're very pared back, and we aren't driven by fads and fashions and whether we're flavour of the month. I want something that when you look at it and maybe in 20, 30, 40 years, you're still wearing that watch. It's that sense of the aesthetic has stood the test of time. And I think of classic dive watches or military watches and things like that that do inspire me, that I've got those, and I think they're as good today as they were when they were first made. And one other thing for me is what I call democratic design, and it goes back to the best possible watch for the best possible price. So I wanted it to be an affordable watch, and even the name Alkin derives from the Old English all kin, all people, all types of people. So I wanted this watch to be, and the brand to be, something that lots of people could afford a really good quality watch, not just the few that can afford those famous, expensive brands.
What can we expect from you on British Watchmakers Day?
We've actually got production pieces that will be there on the day and we'll be able to sell some. The Model 3 is 2 watches in one case. So again, as a small brand, I was conscious that evolution and development of a watch can often be quite slow. So I thought maybe as an exercise, could I do 2 distinct watches in one case? So I could do a production run of the cases and then dress them in different ways via the dial and the hands and the bezel insert. So we've got the Model 3 diver, which is a classic diver with the external bezel. Again, it follows the very clean aesthetic of the Alkin style. The execution, I sort of spend so long on the weighting of everything and how it's spread out. There are a few small cues from dive watches that I love. So the cutout markers at 12, 3, 6 and 9 sort of echo and give a nod to vintage dive watches that I love, but we've done it in a slightly different way where we've done it with a sandwich dial. So the markers are actually cut out on the top dial to reveal the lume underneath, and then the other thing we've done is actually print the numbers straight onto the loom, which is not that common. So again, a testament to my suppliers on what they've done and the way they've executed, but they've done a really good job and we're really proud of it. This one comes in 3 colorways, so the green dial, the blue dial, and then there's sort of a classic black and white as well. The green has done really, really well. It's been on the pre-orders, it's been one of our top sellers.
I was going to say, I love that green dial.
Yeah, again, it's getting the perfect shade of green. I've got so many samples. Even that color, it's like when you've taken that time to labor over that one small detail, and then it just sort of goes and everybody loves it. And then the other version is the dual time. So we've taken out the dive bezel and dropped in a brushed stainless steel. And again, we've got a sandwich dial, but opted for applied markers for the indices. And it's a bit of an exercise in doing something a little bit bolder whilst still staying sort of honouring the sort of Alkin vibe and aesthetic. So this one was a bit of an opportunity to test out some colours, some bolder colours anyway. So we've got sort of a baby blue colour here. We've got the yellow, which I'm really pleased with here, and that's done really surprisingly well. And then finally, which is the one again that has just done so much better than all the others, is the brushed copper dial. So, and again, small details, the brushing is it's a vertical brush instead of a radial brush. So the vertical brushing, it's a little less dressy and sort of ties back into the more sort of tool watch aesthetic. It still all works together, I think, and hopefully that's echoed in how well it's done so far. So I'm just really excited to show people these, and also we'll have a batch of our Model 2 watches, which I'm wearing one.
What does the upcoming British Watchmakers event mean to you as a British watch company?
It's a clear demonstration of what a great shape the British watch industry's in. I'm really honoured to be a small part of this amazing event. For me, it's about the scale of the event. So you've got these amazing artisan one-off pieces that go for tens of thousands of pounds, and then you've got the big brands that make tens of thousands of watches, and then you've got small businesses like myself that are operated by one person. So I think that's really exciting, and it's quite unique. I've been to a few watch events, and that's not been the case. From my perspective also is a lot of my business is online, and although I build great relationships with people all over the world, I rarely meet them face to face. So for me, it's an opportunity to put faces to names to people that have bought every model that I've ever produced, and have chats to them, but also meet new people and build new relationships. And as I understand it, the show sold out really quickly, so there's going to be a lot of people there, and it's going to be a brilliant day. There wouldn't have been an event like this 10, 15 years ago, so it's sort of a demonstration of how far the industry's come.
So your brand has obviously established itself in a very competitive market. I mean, even just from the show, there's so many brands going. How have you achieved this? Have you had any outside investment?
I gave up my full-time job 7-8 years ago, and I'd had an idea for a watch on the boil, and I've found a manufacturer, and we built some prototypes, and like many other brands, started off as a Kickstarter project. So we had prototypes. We took a long time to find the right manufacturer, because the quality, as I said, was a really important thing, and sadly we had to kiss a few frogs to find the prints in terms of finding the right manufacturer. But yeah, we launched on Kickstarter. The watch was really well received and did really well from there. In terms of investment, I think the big thing again is the customers and the people, is to do a Kickstarter and to put your own money into this idea that somebody has is an amazing investment. And we've since to manage cash flow and stuff like that, we've had pre-orders. So again, people are putting their trust and their faith and their investment in me. I think now the brand, everything has been done by me. The photography, the design, the branding, the putting stuff in boxes and sending it out. It's all been me. And it's a wonderful thing, because I think this world of micro brands that I'm in, customers really appreciate that I've done the design work, I've built relationships with them via email and stuff like that. So that's part of the uniqueness of the brand, and you're buying into the person as well as the watch.
It's that personal touch and connection you actually have with the customer.
Yeah.
Just being the robot behind the scenes.
But I think now the brand is in a position where we've kind of established ourselves and we're doing quite well. Also, my consultancy is doing well, so I'm coming to a bit of a junction of what do I do with the brand, and how do I grow it without losing that identity that is as much about me as it is about the watches. I'm a great believer in growing slow and growing strong, so there's a lot, there's balance in it. So in essence, what we've done so far, I'm really proud of, and it's really exciting. And I think I've exceeded my expectations up until this point. The watches have gone to every corner of the planet, and I constantly get great feedback on the watches. So yeah, it's exceeded my expectations.
What direction would you like Alkin to go in?
Up until this point, we've been known for tool watches as such. So again, it would be really nice to apply the sort of core principles of the brand to dressier watches or sportier watches. So stay tuned. We'll see over the next few years what we come up with in terms of that. Looking at potentially a clock, which would be fun. It's sort of, again, applying the key principles to a different thing. I think a big part of the brand also is its connection to the West Country and to Bristol. We're Bristol-based. I grew up in the West Country. In terms of its sort of cultural and creative heritage, Bristol's got an amazing creative and cultural scene. I started talking to a graphic designer, and maybe we can sort of collaborate on developing a watch that sort of represents Bristol and its identity. So continuing to just find new directions and evolve the brand, but at heart always be an Alkin product.
And as it's the first, obviously, watchmaking event dedicated to just British watchmaking, we've got to ask, how do you see the future of British watchmaking going?
I think it's really exciting. It's in a really exciting place, and there's lots of brands which kind of does make up an industry, and there are people that make watches in the UK, but that's a really, really small percentage. I make no bones about the fact that I use amazing suppliers, but they're offshore and in the Far East, and to try and bring manufacturing into the UK or into Europe, for me, won't allow me to give customers the best possible product at the best possible price. So I would love to see a manufacturing industry evolve eventually. One thing we are looking at, which is totally feasible, is assembly in the UK. So more British watches being made in Britain would be a lovely thing to see. And we've got an amazing engineering industry. There's more automation and artificial intelligence and all these technologies that might start to enable things to be done at scale, to watch cases to be made that are affordable. And maybe the great thing about the Alliance now is brands are talking to each other, and there's a level of unity within the industry as a whole that hasn't existed before. So maybe a number of us could work together so that we could get cases made in the UK or parts made in the UK at scale, because an order of 10,000 or 20,000 or 100,000 could be placed at a time to allow that to happen. So in terms of the identity of the British watchmaking industry, it's year on year, more brands are launching, smaller brands are turning into big brands. There's amazing success stories at every price point, at every quality, at every volume. But I think it's that question of what does the real long term look like for the industry. And for me, coming from a making background, from an engineering design background, it would be lovely to bring more of that to the UK.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much for coming to visit us today. And yeah, can't wait to see the British Watchmakers Day and see what we've got going on.